Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much.
Have you ever wondered if your wardrobe could be affecting your spiritual life? What if the symbols on your clothes aren't just fashion, but invitations? And what if the enemy has been hiding in plain sight, woven into the very fabric we wear every day? The clothes we put on our bodies are more than just fabric and thread. They're a language, a silent expression of identity, intention, and sometimes even spiritual alignment. Behind every symbol, every design, and every intricate detail, there may be a deeper meaning we often overlook. While culture tells us fashion is simply a matter of personal style or creativity, what if it's far more spiritual than we've been led to believe? What if the designs we choose to wear carry hidden messages that open doors, not just socially, but spiritually? Certain symbols and patterns appear repeatedly across fashion trends, in high-end labels, casual streetwear, and even in everyday jewelry. Is this constant repetition just coincidence, or is something more deliberate at play? Could it be that darkness has been cleverly disguised as style? You see, the enemy rarely shows up as something obviously threatening. He works subtly, embedding deception in things that seem harmless, attractive even. He knows most people wouldn't openly embrace evil, so instead he cloaks it in beauty, trends, and symbols we don't even think twice about. And once we accept those symbols, we may unknowingly welcome influences that were never meant for us. This isn't just theory, it's history. For centuries, ancient warriors wore garments marked with symbols they believed would offer protection in battle. Priests, shamans, and spiritual leaders across civilizations have used colors, patterns, and fabrics to channel power, honor deities, or seek favor. Clothing has always been a powerful form of spiritual communication. But just as garments can be used to honor light, they can also be twisted to serve darkness. The enemy understands the power of symbolism. That's why he's worked his influence in a modern fashion, dressing up darkness as harmless aesthetics. By doing so, he slowly numbs us, normalizing symbols and messages that were once rejected for their dark meaning. Look around and you'll see it, the rise of occult imagery in mainstream fashion. Not long ago, symbols like the pentagram, the all-seeing eye, or the inverted cross were confined to secret societies, obscure esoteric texts, or hidden rituals. These images were once reserved for those practicing witchcraft, dark arts, or participating in demonic ceremonies. Today, they're boldly displayed on t-shirts, jackets, hats, and jewelry. They've moved from the shadows into our everyday wardrobes. And they're not just random graphics or edgy designs. These are spiritual emblems, historically used to invoke powers, open portals, and signify allegiance to things that oppose the light. The pentagram isn't just a trendy star. It's been used for centuries in rituals designed to summon spirits. The inverted cross, a known symbol in satanic rites. The all-seeing eye, rooted in occult belief systems that glorify hidden knowledge apart from God. But it doesn't stop there. Beyond the obvious symbols are more subtle ones. Ancient runes, alchemical signs, specific geometric patterns, even some animal prints that hold spiritual meaning in darker belief systems. Many of these traces can be tracked back to rituals meant to manipulate energy, summon entities, or draw power from unholy sources. And yet, millions wear them daily, unaware of their true roots or spiritual weight. You might be thinking, but I don't believe in that stuff. It's just fashion to me. That's a common reaction. But ask yourself this. Does the spiritual realm operate based on our personal beliefs, or does it follow spiritual law? If someone walks in a fire, does their disbelief in flames prevent them from getting burned? Of course not. Likewise, aligning with spiritual symbols, knowingly or unknowingly, can open doors you never meant to unlock. There's a reason why the world has become so fascinated with darkness. Have you noticed it? The trend is everywhere. In music videos, blockbuster films, social media posts, and yes, especially in fashion. What was once hidden in secret orders is now walking boldly down the runway. It's printed on mass-produced clothing and worn proudly by millions who have no idea what they're really inviting into their lives. Some brush it off. They call it aesthetic. They say it's just edgy, just another style. But is it really? Or is it part of a greater strategy to desensitize us slowly, subtly, so that we stop questioning and start accepting? The truth is, the enemy's most effective tool has always been deception. And in this case, it's wrapped in fabric and labeled as trend. But here's the truth. The enemy doesn't operate through passing trends. He thrives on deception. Just take a moment to look at what's being promoted today in fashion. The pentagram, the inverted cross, the all-seeing eye. These aren't just abstract patterns or edgy designs from overly creative minds. They are deeply rooted symbols, once reserved for ancient rituals and dark allegiances, now stitched into everyday clothing for mass consumption. Culture wants you to believe it's just fashion, just harmless self-expression. But that's exactly the trick. The enemy has always worked by blurring the line between light and darkness, good and evil. Because if he can get people to wear these symbols, to embrace them as normal or artistic, especially without questioning their meaning, then he's already succeeded in slipping darkness through the front door, disguised as style. He's strategic. He rebrands the occult, wraps it in glamour, rebellion, and creativity. What was once feared and shunned, he transforms into something bold, attractive, and desirable. And the moment people put on these symbols, even without full understanding, they open themselves to what those images have always represented. Because spiritual laws don't bend to personal intent. Have you ever paused to wonder why these particular symbols keep showing up in high fashion over and over again? On runways, in commercials, on luxury labels? Do you really think that's just coincidence? Of course not. It's intentional. A calculated effort to shift the cultural norm and make darkness look beautiful, even admirable. Behind the scenes, the world of high fashion is heavily influenced by individuals who openly explore and embrace spiritual darkness. Some of the most celebrated designers have gone on record about their fascination with mysticism, secret knowledge, and ritualistic practices. They're not hiding it. They're embedding it into their creations with purpose. And here's what makes it even more dangerous. The more these symbols are worn, the more they're normalized. The more people see them without question, the more their true meaning fades into the background. Until one day, it's no longer shocking. It's just another t-shirt, another necklace, another brand logo. But underneath the fabric, the message remains. And it's not only about pentagrams or inverted crosses. Sometimes, the signs of demonic influence are far more subtle. Have you noticed the growing trend of clothing covered in snakes, skulls, flames, or images tied to destruction and decay? Have you observed how much of fashion today glorifies death, rebellion, and chaos, as if those themes are edgy or empowering? That kind of messaging isn't accidental. It's deliberate. Scripture reminds us clearly, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And yet, those very themes are paraded as bold statements of identity and style in mainstream fashion. The world tells us it's just a look, just a vibe, just self-expression. But that leads to a deeper question. Whose expression are we embracing? The enemy is cunning. He doesn't approach in a grotesque form with horns and a pitchfork. That would be too obvious. Instead, he wraps sin in beauty. He hides rebellion inside creativity. He presents symbols of darkness with a seductive polish, so we stop recognizing them for what they truly are. He makes destruction look desirable and masks evil behind the label of art. And the moment we stop questioning, the moment we dismiss it all as harmless aesthetic, we begin to normalize darkness. That's when the danger creeps in unnoticed. We accept what we see, where what looks appealing and unknowingly crack open a spiritual door that was never meant to be opened. That's why awareness is critical. That's why spiritual discernment matters more than ever. Because make no mistake, this isn't just about clothing. It's about influence. It's about the condition of your heart. The enemy isn't interested in your t-shirt. He wants your soul. And if he can get you to glorify the things of his kingdom without realizing it, if he can get you to wear them, represent them, and celebrate them, then he's already made his way into your life. It's time to open our eyes. It's time to stop letting the world define what's acceptable. If something has roots in evil, no matter how fashionable or trendy it seems, it doesn't belong in the life of someone walking in the light. We cannot proclaim truth while silently promoting darkness through the symbols we wear. We are called to be different. We are called to be holy. And that calling begins with every choice we make, including what we wear on our backs. Look around at the world we live in today, and you'll quickly see that fashion has evolved far beyond fabric and style. It's no longer just about what you wear. It's about what you represent. It's about messaging, influence, and shaping cultural values, one trend at a time. And if you really pay attention, you'll start to notice something unsettling. The biggest names in fashion, the most followed celebrities, and the most powerful figures in entertainment are consistently promoting symbols and imagery rooted in darkness. And make no mistake, this is no coincidence. The fashion industry has become one of the most influential forces on earth. It tells people not only how to dress, but how to think, what to value, and who to admire. Behind the glittering lights of the runway, beyond the glossy magazine covers and viral social media content, there lies a carefully crafted agenda. And that agenda is not aligned with God's truth. Have you ever asked yourself why so many celebrities consistently wear clothing stamped with demonic symbols? Why are pentagrams, all-seeing eyes, and other occult references showing up on red carpets and Instagram feeds? Why is there such a fascination with imagery that glorifies death, rebellion, and spiritual darkness? The truth is, the industry they serve is deeply spiritual, just not in a way that honors God. Many public figures openly embrace mysticism, secret societies, and spiritual rituals that most people would dismiss as fiction. But these rituals are very real. And whether the individuals involved fully understand it or not, they're being used to lead countless others down a dangerous path. When fans see their favorite icons draped in these symbols, they stop asking questions. They begin to mimic the look, adopt the aesthetic, and embrace the vibe, thinking it's just style, just fashion, just edgy expression. But here's something to consider. Why would the enemy appear as something terrifying when he can enter your home dressed as your idol? Why would he scare you away from darkness when he can make it look glamorous, exciting, and powerful? He doesn't need to barge in when he's already being invited in through our screens, our feeds, and our closets. He knows people mirror what they admire. And when public figures walk proudly in garments marked with symbols of darkness, when they wear designs that mock God and celebrate sin, they're not just dressing up. They're broadcasting a message to millions. This is fashionable. This is normal. This is what success looks like. And without even realizing it, the masses begin to follow. They imitate the looks. They absorb the styles. They invite those influences into their daily lives, unaware that they may be crossing into spiritually dangerous ground. But it's not just the celebrities. It goes deeper. The world's most powerful designers are part of this movement as well. Have you ever noticed how often luxury fashion includes subtle or even blatant religious mockery? Entire collections feature upside-down crosses, twisted interpretations of sacred symbols, and graphic references to demonic figures. Yet people walk into boutiques and willingly pay hundreds, even thousands, of dollars to wear clothing that symbolizes everything God stands against. This isn't just a matter of personal taste or aesthetic preference. This is spiritual warfare, cleverly disguised in fabric, thread, and trends. Because here's what the enemy understands, even when many don't. What you wear reflects what you align with. That's why scripture often ties garments to identity. Priests wore holy robes that signified their dedication to God. Prophets were marked by their unique attire, setting them apart as chosen messengers. And even Jesus' garment held such meaning that Roman soldiers gambled for it at the cross. Clothing has always carried deeper significance, symbolic, spiritual, and cultural. And today, the fashion industry is intentionally using that significance to promote an agenda far removed from godliness. The world tries to convince us that these things don't matter, that it's just art, just fabric, just expression. But pause for a moment and reflect. When did we stop being disturbed by darkness? When did we begin to wear what we used to reject? That's how deception works. The enemy rarely moves all at once. He inches in subtly, slowly, until we've accepted what once would have shocked us. He doesn't overwhelm all at once. Instead, he introduces darkness in small doses, just enough to slip past your guard. Over time, people stop recognizing these symbols for what they truly are. But we're not meant to blend in. We're called to live differently, to see with spiritual eyes, and to walk with discernment. That means resisting the pressure to chase every trend the world promotes. That means thinking twice before allowing celebrities and fashion influencers to dictate what we wear. Because this isn't just about what's stylish or trendy. It's about where your allegiance lies. If the clothes we wear celebrate darkness, should we still claim to be walking in the light? That's a hard question, but a necessary one. Most people don't think twice when they grab something off a store rack. They see a design they like, a logo they recognize, a trend that fits in, and they wear it without a second thought. But what if some of those garments carry more than just fabric and thread? What if some of the items we put on our bodies hold spiritual weight, cloaked in symbols and meanings that go far beyond surface-level design? It's not just about personal preference anymore. It's about spiritual alignment. Many people unknowingly clothe themselves in garments that have been inspired by, or even created for, dark spiritual purposes. The enemy doesn't need to hide anymore. He operates right out in the open, cleverly disguised behind flashy aesthetics and big brand names. And here's the trap. If he can get people to accept things without asking questions, if he can convince them to wear something without considering its origin or purpose, then half the battle is already won. We've already opened the door without even realizing it. Across the globe, many cultures have long used clothing, jewelry, and accessories as part of spiritual rituals, expressions that go far beyond aesthetics. These items weren't simply decorative. They were tools, often designed to summon spirits, channel energies, or dedicate someone to a specific spiritual force. And while modern society may have grown distant from those ancient meanings, the spiritual realm hasn't forgotten. Just because people stop believing in spirits doesn't mean the spirits stop existing. Their presence and influence don't disappear simply because something is rebranded as just fashion. If a garment or accessory was crafted with a dark spiritual purpose, that intention still lingers, even if the person wearing it is completely unaware. Have you ever noticed how certain styles seem to explode in popularity overnight? They seem to appear out of thin air, suddenly featured on runways, worn by celebrities, filling store racks everywhere. People embrace the trend without a second thought. But what if those designs aren't as random as they appear? When you trace the origins of some popular trends, you may discover they stem from ancient spiritual practices. Many of these traditions were never meant to be diluted into casual fashion. Take jewelry, for instance. Necklaces, rings, bracelets. Many of them are etched with symbols or markings the average consumer doesn't recognize. What looks like a simple design might actually be an inscription drawn from pagan rituals. Some of these charms were created to connect the wearer to specific spiritual energies. Now think about how often these items are worn daily. Without question, people unknowingly carry spiritual baggage, simply because they didn't know what they were buying. And it doesn't stop there. Certain fabrics, patterns, or even color combinations were originally designed for spiritual ceremonies. Some were used to signify initiation into secret orders, others to channel divine or even demonic power. Yet today, they've been mass-produced, stitched into trendy outfits, and sold worldwide, often with no explanation of their true origin. Even brand collaborations aren't immune. Behind the scenes, some of these creative partnerships are tied to dark spiritual inspirations, hidden in plain sight. Some designers don't even try to hide it. They openly share that their creative inspiration comes from mysticism, ancient rites, or occult traditions. They speak of rituals, symbols, and energies as part of the artistic process behind their collections. And yet people still rush to buy these clothes, believing they're just following the latest trend. They have no idea they're wrapping themselves in something that was never meant to be worn casually. You might say, but I wasn't part of the ritual. I just bought a shirt. But let me ask you this. If you knew something had been cursed, would you bring it into your home? If you found out a necklace had been used in a demonic ceremony, would you wear it proudly? The reality is, spiritual influence doesn't depend on your awareness or belief. It works regardless. Just like poison doesn't lose its danger simply because someone doesn't believe it's toxic, a spiritually charged object doesn't stop affecting you just because you see it as harmless. That's why discernment is so critical. Scripture repeatedly tells us to guard our hearts, to test every spirit, and to stay far from anything that even resembles evil. And yet, so many people today unknowingly clothe themselves in garments born from spiritual darkness, unaware of the weight they carry. The enemy doesn't need you to bow down to him. He doesn't need you to pledge your allegiance. All he needs is your indifference. All he needs is for you to stop asking questions, to stop being vigilant. He counts on distraction, on vanity, on a culture more concerned with looking stylish than being spiritually safe. And if the enemy can get you to wear something designed to invite darkness, even unknowingly, he's already found a way to attach himself to your life without you ever noticing. This isn't about paranoia. It's about wisdom. It's about spiritual awareness. Because once you start asking the right questions, once your eyes are open to what's really going on, you'll begin to see just how strategically this world is designed to distract, deceive, and pull people away from God. One trend, one image, one garment at a time. The moment you begin to recognize the true intention behind these choices, your perspective shifts. You don't just reconsider your wardrobe. You reevaluate what you're allowing into your life. Here's something most people overlook. In this world, very few things are truly random. The images we consume, the sounds we hear, the clothes we wear, every element is layered with meaning and intention. But society has trained us not to question. We've been conditioned to go with the flow, to accept what's trendy without hesitation, and to assume that popular culture is harmless. But let me ask you this. Why do so many top designers and global brands continually repeat the same symbols? Why are occult signs and spiritual imagery hidden in logos, printed on clothes, and sold in stores all around the world? This isn't coincidence. It's calculated. The enemy doesn't thrive in obvious chaos. He thrives in strategy, subtlety, and repetition. He understands that if you surround people with darkness long enough, eventually they stop noticing it. That's the goal, to make people numb. And fashion is one of his most powerful tools. If he can convince people to wear demonic symbols as casual streetwear, to promote spiritual rebellion through clothing, to see once disturbing imagery as normal, then he's already won a significant battle for their hearts and minds. Now look at some of the most influential fashion brands in the world. Their logos aren't just edgy or artistic. Many carry deep spiritual meanings, often rooted in ancient sigils or symbols tied directly to witchcraft and occult traditions. Some even incorporate numbers associated with demonic influence, cleverly hidden in plain sight. Yet millions of people walk around wearing these emblems every day, proudly promoting them, completely unaware of what they're really connected to. It's no coincidence that certain symbols keep appearing on clothing over and over again. The all-seeing eye, the pentagram, the serpent, the inverted cross. These are not just edgy or artistic design choices. They are deliberate signals. They are messages sent out into the world, quietly declaring something spiritual, something symbolic, and often something sinister. And the people behind these designs, many of them know exactly what they're doing. In fact, some of them have openly admitted their deep interest in mysticism, their pursuit of esoteric knowledge, and their desire to blur the lines between light and darkness. These symbols are embedded in clothing intentionally, crafted with the expectation that most people won't bother to question them. And each time someone wears one of those garments, They unknowingly come into agreement with something far more powerful and spiritually charged than they realize. You might hear someone say, "I don't believe in all that. It's just a shirt. It's just a logo." But let's pause for a moment. Does spiritual influence really need your belief to be effective? Or does it operate regardless, based on truth rather than opinion? The spiritual realm doesn't shift because someone is unaware. If something was designed to represent darkness, it doesn't become harmless simply because the person wearing it is uninformed. Just like poison doesn't stop being poison because the label was ignored, spiritual symbols don't lose their meaning when worn without understanding. That's why scripture is clear. We are to avoid even the appearance of evil. We're called to protect our hearts, to be alert and mindful about what we connect ourselves to. And yet, every day, countless people walk around wearing clothing covered in symbols that represent everything opposed to God's light. They assume it's no big deal. But the moment they wear it, whether consciously or not, they're making a statement. They're aligning themselves with something. They're sending a spiritual signal out into the world. The enemy thrives in that ignorance. He doesn't need people to worship him directly. He just needs them to stop asking questions. He needs them to laugh it off, to say it's just fashion, just a brand, just a trend. Because the more people stop thinking critically, the more room he has to keep pushing his message through the things they wear. And that's exactly the plan to normalize darkness. To make it so familiar, so trendy, so widely accepted, that people don't even blink when they see demonic imagery on everyday clothing. But we weren't called to blend in. We were called to stand out, to be set apart, to walk in the light and remain vigilant about the things we allow into our lives, especially the things we wear. This isn't just about choosing what looks good. It's about asking deeper questions. Where did this design come from? What does it really represent? What message am I sending by putting this on my body? Because let's be honest, fashion is no longer just a surface level issue. It's spiritual, and if we're not careful, we might wake up one day and realize we've been walking around clothed in the enemy's message without even realizing it. There was a time, not so long ago, when modesty was a virtue, when dignity and self-respect were reflected in how someone dressed. Clothing wasn't just about trends. It was about character, values, and honoring both yourself and those around you. But somewhere along the way, that shifted. Something changed. Have you noticed? Today's fashion industry seems determined to erase that sense of dignity, to cast modesty aside as if it were a weakness, to push boundaries until nothing is sacred and nothing is off limits. What once expressed honor has now become a tool for temptation. What once lifted people up is now being used to pull them down, glorifying lust over godliness, seduction over self-respect. This tactic isn't new. The enemy has always worked through distortion. If he can twist the way people see themselves, if he can convince them their worth is measured by how much skin they show, then he's already captured part of their identity. He takes what God created as pure, beautiful, and sacred and reshapes it into a weapon of distraction, degradation, and shame. He whispers lies, subtle but destructive. Modesty is old-fashioned. Dignity is boring. Real confidence comes from revealing, not covering. And tragically, too many people have bought into that narrative. Look around today, and it's clear. The world now celebrates styles that leave little to the imagination, and even less to the spirit. Everywhere you turn, there are ads and media pushing the very things Scripture warns us to guard against. Lust is no longer something hidden, it's promoted. Sensuality isn't whispered about, it's celebrated. And in the midst of all this, most people have no idea that what they choose to wear not only shapes how others see them, but also alters the spiritual atmosphere they carry. The enemy isn't just using words to seduce. He's using imagery. He's using appearances. The way someone dresses can become a subtle trap, a visual stumbling block that leads others down roads they were never meant to travel. But this issue runs deeper than causing someone else to stumble. It reaches into the spiritual condition of the person wearing it. When someone embraces styles that exalt lust, immorality, or seduction, they're unknowingly aligning themselves with a spirit that is completely contrary to the heart of God. You might not feel it in the moment, but the spiritual realm responds all the same. It's not just fabric, it's influence. The Bible is crystal clear on this. It warns against immodesty, against the seductive spirit, against using appearance as a tool to gain attention for the wrong reasons. Yet look at how the world has twisted that truth. Modesty is mocked. Seduction is rewarded. We've been told that if you're not flaunting your body, you're missing out. That if you don't show more, you're worth less. And the enemy? He's behind it all. He's not just reshaping wardrobes. He's reshaping worldviews. He's targeting the minds of young men and women, convincing them that their value lies in how they look, that their worth is measured by how much they reveal, that gaining the world's attention is somehow more important than living in God's favor. And once that deception takes root, breaking free from it becomes a spiritual battle. Have you noticed how quickly these trends take over? One celebrity steps out in a provocative outfit, and within days, millions are replicating it. One influencer posts a viral photo, and suddenly it's the new cultural standard. Hardly anyone pauses to ask, does this reflect my values, my faith, my purpose? Instead, they follow the crowd, unaware of the deeper impact. Too many people are afraid of being excluded, afraid of standing out, afraid of being labeled as too strict or too conservative. But let me tell you something clearly. Choosing righteousness has never been about fitting in. It's never been about chasing popularity or approval. True strength is found in choosing modesty, in embracing dignity, and in boldly reflecting the purity of God, even through something as simple as the way you dress. That's not weakness. That's courage. That's power. When you refuse to let the world dictate your worth, when you say, I will not lower my standards just to belong, you are walking in true identity. This isn't about rules. This isn't about legalism. It's about something much deeper. It's about realizing that every piece of clothing you put on sends a message. It speaks about who you are, what you stand for, and who you represent. And if you call yourself a child of God, then you are called to live differently. God calls his people to be set apart, not in isolation, but in representation, to walk with purpose, to dress with honor, to live with conviction. So, ask yourself a simple yet powerful question. Does what I wear glorify God? Or does it silently echo the message of a culture that's trying to run from him? Because here's the truth. The enemy will never stop pushing. He will keep blurring the line between purity and temptation, beauty and distortion. But you don't have to go along with it. You don't have to shrink back. You can choose clarity over confusion. You can walk in wisdom, not in compromise. You can clothe yourself not just in fabric, but in dignity, purpose, and truth. And when you make that decision, when you truly choose to reflect God's light instead of blending into a world lost in shadows, you don't just change your wardrobe. You shift the atmosphere around you. You set a standard. You become a walking testimony of what it means to belong to something higher, something holy. So take that step. Dress with purpose, live with integrity, and never forget, your worth doesn't come from what the world sees. It comes from who God says you are. Wishing you strength, joy, and unshakable peace. Stay blessed, stay true, and don't forget to subscribe to Mindset Daily for more content that inspires and uplifts.